All right, Niall, the world wants to know what's in your notes today.
I'm sure the world is craving it, Robbie. Well, President Trump is trying to rewrite history with his little Sharpie again, metaphorically speaking, of course. But this time it's serious. Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labour Statistics on Friday. Her name is Erika McEntarfer, and she was a well-respected but pretty low-profile government figure until 3 days ago. What was her fireable offence? The Bureau gave out information that Trump doesn't like. Specifically, the latest job numbers were bad. The Bureau found that just 73,000 new jobs were created last month. It also revised down the jobs created in the previous 2 months by a substantial 258,000. Those numbers reflect badly on Trump's economy, so he fired her. To add further to the grim absurdity of it all, the numbers in question aren't even controlled by the Commissioner. You don't need to take my word for that. Here's the man Trump nominated to the same position during his first term, Bill Beach, speaking with CNN's Casey Hunt on State of the Union yesterday.
The president said that the BLS commissioner rigged these numbers.
Yeah.
What do you think?
There's no way for that to happen. The commissioner doesn't do anything to collect the numbers. The commissioner doesn't see the numbers until Wednesday before they're published. By the time the commissioner sees the numbers, they're all prepared. They're locked into the computer system. The only thing the commissioner does on Wednesday is to kind of do the edits on the text. So there's no hands-on at all for the commissioner.
Beach, to his credit, has slammed Trump's decision to fire McEntarfer. In a social media post, he called the move, quote, totally groundless, and said it sets a dangerous precedent. Indeed, it does. It's a much more dangerous version of the Sharpie debacle of his first term I mentioned at the start. Back then, in 2019, Trump made a mistake by suggesting Alabama was in the path of a hurricane. It wasn't. But to conceal the fact that he was wrong, a map was produced on which the storm's projected path had been crudely changed with a Sharpie. You can see it there. As goes Alabama, so goes the world. And when it comes to the American economy, we actually do need to know what really is barreling our way and what isn't. Trump doesn't care about any of that. He wants the numbers to be tailored to fit his narrative, right or wrong. And if you don't go along, you wind up fired. Very North Korea, and very dangerous to anyone who cares about truth in America. Bill Beach is at least holding on to his dignity by voicing his dissent. That's more than could be said for the Trump courtiers like economic advisor Kevin Hassett, rushing to prop up the president's arguments, regardless of how obviously false they are. Here's Mr. Trump giving his context for the decision yesterday evening, speaking in Allentown, Pennsylvania.
And if you remember, just before the election, this woman came out with these phenomenal numbers on Biden's economy. Phenomenal numbers. And then right after the election, they announced that those numbers were wrong. And that's what they did the other day. So it's a scam, in my opinion.
Literally none of that is true. How phenomenal were the numbers supposedly cooked up to help Kamala Harris win the election? They were very, very bad. The final report before polling day showed a mere 12,000 new jobs had been created the previous month. The New York Times story about those numbers, published 4 days before the election, was headlined, US job growth stalls in days before vote. The reaction of one Donald J. Trump to those numbers at the time was, quote, today's jobs report is a great embarrassment for our nation. And, by the way, Trump's other suggestion, that phenomenal numbers intended to help Harris win were revised down to the real figures afterwards, that's untrue as well. The numbers were revised upwards. The first report after the election tripled the estimated job gains in October 2024 to 36,000. The next report after that nudged them up again to 43,000. So, the short version, what Trump claims is the opposite of the truth. It's complete nonsense. Will his fans care? Probably not. One of the main things that mystifies me about the most hardcore Trump supporters is their tendency to cheer on a man who so blatantly lies to their faces, and then congratulate themselves on their toughness for doing so. They are extraordinarily willing to believe that nefarious motives lie behind any and every criticism of him, and extraordinarily willing to overlook the utter lies he spouts to lead them along to that conclusion. It's Hall of Mirrors stuff. That's the problem with Trump, though. He constantly distorts the truth. He renders fact as fiction and fiction as fact, and he always has. But this time, it isn't just him claiming that his apartment in Trump Tower was 3 times its actual size. It's him putting the economy in danger by firing someone who delivers true data. It's him putting any trust in government in danger by removing all but his lamest lackeys. And it's him again putting the nature of democracy in danger by his constant war on any facts that he simply doesn't like.
Well, this is the fun thing about our show, that we disagree and we debate and we argue vociferously, but when I think you're right, I just say I think you're right. I'm not going to try to spin something that Trump is doing that I don't like. I think, as you said, it betrays a kind of weakness to just, someone said the numbers are, and you don't like the numbers and you're going to fire that person. It is a North Korean or Soviet to shoot the messenger. He was warned about his economic policies by other conservatives, by other free market people, that the tariffs can be destructive. Some of the other things he's doing can be destructive. So you produce of all the things that can happen, a weaker than expected jobs report is certainly not good. It's not a calamity. Right. And then you fire the person. It's almost like calling more attention to it. Again, it's Streisand's affects it. Yeah. So I think it was a bad move. I think it was politically unwise. I guess my only real disagreement with you is I don't think this is so much a case of everyone marching in lockstep with Trump. Certainly people in the administration, like Kevin Hassett, they have no choice but to defend everything Trump does. For the most part, it seems. On this one, I did actually, because I went looking for, some of the conservative voices I'll turn to be like, well, how is this defended from the conservative point of view? And I actually did see unilateral criticism of this, even from people who tend to find ways to defend Trump. Mm-hmm. Now, it could be that the base is with Trump or whatever, if that's what you mean. But I did see some Fox News and other conservative commentator people saying, yeah, this is a bad look. Maybe not worked up with as much fury over it as you are, but nobody. I saw a lot of people saying, yeah, he shouldn't have done this.
Well, I'm glad that is the case. I do think that there is a problem with the Hassetts of the world. Yeah. I mean, you say he has no choice. Well, yeah, but it's a voluntary thing to go into that position. And before you
he could hire Kari himself with the sword and die, and then no one will serve in that role, I guess.
You know before you go in to serve Trump what the price of that is going to be. And it's going to be slavish repetition of this nonsense that Trump frequently spouts. And so I think that it does greatly undercut people's reputation and display a lack of integrity to do that. Overall, I think that the Trump base, I suspect, will find some way to believe his absurd explanation for why this is all happening, and I don't have much time for that. I find it extraordinarily credulous.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be consistent. If a Democratic president fired the jobs numbers person because they didn't like the numbers, it would be front page news every day, and MAGA base would be outraged, and Trump himself would say, see these lying Democrats, deep state trying to cover up the truth.
Exactly.
You got to be, I don't know how you can avoid being at least a little consistent in similarly not thinking that's a good thing when Trump does it. So
Agreed. Next up, President Trump is lashing out at Charlemagne the God after his appearance on Lara Trump's Fox show. Stay with us for that.